Hi there, fellow pickers. Today we are going to be talking about how to do eBay as a married couple. Got my wife Jen here with me. Hi, Jen.
Hey there.
A lot of you are probably wondering, or if you're doing it single, or if you are doing it with a married couple, it can be really hard. And it could cause a lot of stress in the marriage, but we kind of wanted to give you guys our rundown of how we did it because something came up yesterday that kind of intrigued me with how we operate as an eBay couple and kind of wanted to talk it over, give you our best practices and what we're doing. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Hopefully we can give you guys a couple secrets and possibly, I don't know, can we save a marriage, Jennifer?
We might. I don't know.
All right.
I certainly wouldn't want eBay to have that big of an impact on my life. So
It's not going to cause marital dispute. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Speaking of that, we found a good way to solve a marital dispute that we've been having.
Oh, really?
Like, we don't have very much marital dispute
No.
in our life. Our marriage is pretty darn good. But one thing that we were coming across, and it was because of a free item that solved this.
Free item?
Yes. So before, when we bought the house, when we started renting this house, we had on the condition that we needed a new dishwasher and a new stove to move into the house because they're just super old.
Yeah.
And so the owners of the house at the time, they replaced both of those, and they replaced it with the dishwasher, which came with an instruction manual. Well, for the longest time, we'll just stop on Jennifer's face right there. So for the longest time, I'm okay. You know, we have our boy chores, girl chores, whatever in the house. And I was okay loading the dishwasher after I used my dishes, which was fine. I wasn't one to leave them in the sink. But what I noticed was Jen would reorganize the dishwasher after I put my stuff in there.
We have to choose our battles, ladies.
You do have to choose your battles. And I chose mine too. Well, kind of. As a man, I wanted to point out that I brought out the dishwasher's manual and explained to her that this is the correct way by the manufacturer how to load the dishwasher, that model of a dishwasher, which was cool. It was fine. And she didn't like it. So I gave up right there.
We won't be doing it that way.
Yeah. And I was fine with that. I'm like, okay, whatever. But if you're going to re-stack my dishes, I'm just going to let you load the dishwasher then, which was fine. It was no big deal. But my buddy's remodeling a house and they were replacing their dishwasher and their stove. And he asked me if I wanted the dishwasher, and it was an upgrade to ours. So I went ahead and grabbed it. And since we put that new dishwasher in, you do not readjust my plates whatsoever. It's like
10 years of marriage finally broke me.
Is that what it is?
Anymore. I quit. No, I just
the dishwasher was a very much upgrade though.
Yes. So I mean, it for sure was just the very base, cheapest model that we had, like what you would put into rental grade, quality appliances are not great. And this one's working a lot better. And so there's more room for it to be loaded really tightly and then actually come out clean. It's just, I can relax a little because the dishwasher we had before this one, if you didn't leave some breathing room between each dish, you were not going to have any clean dishes. It was so frustrating. So
let's just say that if we didn't clean our dishes before we put them in the dishwasher, they didn't come out clean.
I mean, I do rinse them really well, but it was a frustration.
Yeah,
so
it was bad.
Yeah.
So a new appliance could reduce the stress in your marriage, ladies and gentlemen.
And when will you finish installing the front?
Yeah, exactly. I'll get to that someday. Is the mode for that one.
Try not to nag.
Yeah, definitely have that on my to-do list. It didn't come with the connecting bracket up into the cabinet. And so if you have both of the door open with both the racks open, it just falls over.
Just falls down. And sometimes the rack, if it's got too many heavy things, it just like rolls out onto the floor.
Yeah.
So
it's completely on me. I have it on my list to do's. And I took a picture of the model the other day, so it's up fresh in my queue. All right, so moving on. That was just kind of a little fun little intro, but moving on, we kind of wanted to dive into what we do as an eBay couple. So it's pretty, we set our goals and what we do pretty early on. And the first one was I set up the business. I figured it all out, set it up. And then we knew in anticipation that Jen was going to quit the job she was working at, and then she was going to take over the eBay business. And it was going well because we both like going yard selling. We both like buying stuff. But at first, we quickly realized, so I had a spreadsheet that I started. We quickly realized that we both do things differently.
Yeah, we just have different ways.
We do. We're completely opposite when it comes to business ideas. And a lot of our personal stuff too is
That could be a strength though.
Yeah, it is.
If you approach it like one.
Yeah, I didn't mean that as a negative at all. And so one thing that I encounter in my business life too is that when somebody sends me a spreadsheet, my mind didn't build it. I didn't build it. So I don't know how it functions. I don't know how it works. And so the spreadsheet that I built, and I think your mind might be a little bit like this too. The spreadsheet that I built it. I knew how to use it. I knew what the functionality was. But when you took it on, you're like, this doesn't fit. I don't understand. I don't know how to work it. And so you had to build a completely new spreadsheet that fit the way that you operated.
It was very similar to the one that you made. It just was accurate. The one you made had a lot of inaccuracies in it. And it made me nervous to start something from the beginning with items missing from it and like not properly recorded.
The whole 50 items were discombobulated. The whole 50 was just too much for Jen's brain.
It was a lot.
So she needed to make a brand new spreadsheet, which she just said looked exactly like the one that I had made.
It's very similar.
That's the first thing that we wanted to teach you guys is that it doesn't matter who makes it. It's the way someone's brain operates. Mm-hmm. And don't be offended by it. Just work to the person's strength that's going to be operating the spreadsheet, which is fine. And then we rolled into the first part of us going out and sourcing stuff together, which was the second piece of, I wouldn't say conflict, but it was a second piece of maybe how we did things differently. Mm-hmm. So I had been doing it for a while. I had a good sense of what stuff I was knowledgeable about, and Jennifer had a good sense of what stuff she was knowledgeable about. And so I noticed that a lot of the time you would balk on the stuff that I was buying. You're saying, oh, that's not going to sell. It's not going to sell.
I continue to be astounded that some of the things that you pick have sold.
But now you don't mention that.
Yeah, I guess I've relaxed into it a little bit. Like at first it made me a little nervous that we were spending our money buying things that I thought were just going to have to go like eventually to a rescue mission or Goodwill or something. That I was like, how are we ever going to get rid of all this crap that's not going to sell? Like, but I continue to just be so surprised in such a good way. And I didn't mean for it to be negative. I was just like very concerned that the picks were not gonna sell. And I mean, we've had some things that have lasted a really long time in our inventory.
Yeah.
That continue to sell. And so that part's really exciting. It's fun. You just are waiting for just the right person to come along and buy it. But there is a long learning curve in learning to buy the things. And I feel like some people have this magic touch. Like I feel like my cousin Kimmy, shout out to my cousin Kimmy, she has like a magic touch when it comes to picking things out. And some of the other people that we followed on on social media or the internet, they just seem to just kind of have this innate sense about things. And
well, let me put a caveat.
I don't feel like I have that,
They only show the good ones that they're putting out there.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure they've picked things that are duds.
We're just a lot more transparent on the Pickers podcast.
I want to be really transparent. Like it's nerve-wracking to me to just spend money on things that are going to drag the business down. Like I want to see the business profitable. I want to see like our inventory be well maintained, and the space that we use to hold it all is a large percentage of our space. And so for me and my brain, it has to make sense. It has to be a good pick. And I was just like very nervous. I continue to think that I'm not very good at picking things, but I mean, I have had a lot of things that I've picked sell. Yeah. So
you're really good at free piles.
It continues to just be like a thing that makes me nervous, Yeah, you are, it's a learning curve for sure. And the storage of some things, like in the beginning, you wanted to buy some records, and I know you're a little older than I am, so you actually had records probably when you were younger. It was right at the cutoff of of not having records and the start of, cassette tapes. And so,
She's an elder millennial, by the way,
or a zennial. So,
or younger Gen
yeah,
X.
or yeah,
No, older,
old Gen X.
older
I'm
Gen
right
X.
I'm caught right in the middle. And so,
Younger millennial,
some of the things that
older
are
millennial. What?
that
That doesn't make sense.
Some of the things that are really nostalgic for you, like I do know what those are, and I do have a memory of them. Some of those neat, like kind of pulp culture-y type things. But records, you wanted to buy a lot of records, and I was very concerned because the places that we have in our home, I know aren't conducive to like the good storage of records. Like you don't want them to be, you want them to be stored a certain way, and you don't want them to be too hot. They can't be too cold. Like it just feels like the Goldilocks of an item to have on hand. And so, yeah, there's just such a learning curve on some of these things. And it
That
can be
was a negative learning curve on my part because records, they don't you don't sell unless you really know what you're doing.
I feel like you have to really know your stuff.
Really know your stuff.
Really know your stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's nothing to set apart a like mediocre record from the other 1,000 of the exact same record that are listed. So like you really need something special.
You bring up a good point. So I feel like my generation, Gen X, we are the nostalgic generation. Like I don't see that with the other generations. Like that's why our Tupperware is selling so well. That's why all the He-Man toys and Army figures and
like those lunch boxes.
Who on earth is buying all this stuff? It's all the Gen X that want to remember their childhood.
Well, right now we're probably the only people who have like a lot of discretionary income for fun spending,
You don't think you don't see the millennial generation? You're not even a nostalgic type of person.
There are certain things like certain cartoons and certain movies and things are very much a part of my generation, but I'm not a collector of things, or if I'm a collector of things, they're not things that are worth money. Like I tend to bring home a lot of rocks from trips, or
you wouldn't buy it for just to make you feel good.
No, because I mean, just like where am I going to put it? I don't have like shelves of displays of things that I collect. So it's just not my style in our home to have pulp culture items. But I do know a lot of people that are my age that do have extensive collections.
Oh, they do. So
things.
It is running into the millennials.
Yeah,
it's not just Generation X.
It is for sure. Yeah.
I think that's why our Tupperware is doing so good too, is because all the Gen Xers remember the snap and lids and stuff like that.
I mean, it's just a really good quality product. And I feel like a lot of these people are probably, they had their favorite and they're just not real interested in trying to find a new favorite. They just want a replacement for the thing that they have loved for the last 20 years, like the exact same one.
Yep.
And I'm like that about certain things too. I'm like, if you've already know what works well for you in your house, like just kind of want that thing,
right? And so that's tip number 2 is know what your strengths are and know what your partner's strengths are. Like Jen, I was saying, Jen's really laid off on rolling her eyes when I pick something up and bring it home.
Yeah.
It's like she was talking about she doesn't love buying the stuff, but I do. And she's really good and organized and descriptive about the items. So kind of offset each other. Like I'll go out and buy stuff and then Jen will do a good job listing it. And with the description, selling it, organizing it, all that kind of stuff.
I'm really good at like organization and processes, I guess, multiple processes. Processes, is that how you would say it? And I don't mind the shopping of things. I feel like I just get a little distracted and end up buying things for myself. And I don't need any more things. And so it's a little too tempting for me because I'll go, oh, this is so neat.
Yeah, that's common.
Put it for me.
One of the best pieces of advice that I think of to this day is somebody gave us the advice that the fun part is the buying.
Yeah.
It's the listing and everything else that you got to do afterwards. But with that, I've really calmed down because I got carried away a lot when I first started going out. Like, this is going to sell, and that's going to sell, and this is going to sell. And like you said, it was a learning process of learning what is going to sell and what's not going to sell. And some of our stuff has sat for quite a while. But I passed up. One of the things that I'm really looking at right now are DVDs because they just quit making them. They just pulled them out of every store.
Nobody has DVDs for sale anymore?
Nobody sells DVDs anymore.
Gosh, that just feels like Kind of crazy.
I
I guess
know.
with streaming.
Exactly.
So don't you get funny? It's kind of annoying when you want to see something and then it doesn't matter which service you have. You never have the one where it's free. We
Yeah.
always end up paying for it.
You all know how I feel about subscriptions, and I'm not paying for another stupid subscription.
And we get a
man.
lot of free trials, but
You got to work the system, get the free trials, dude, and then binge it for
Yeah.
the 7 days that you have.
I've never been a person who has had a lot of DVDs. I don't think I have even purchased very many. The few that I have were probably gifts or came.
But anytime
way.
something goes away, it automatically becomes hot, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is, and the way that I'm processing it in my mind, is that VHSs also went away at one time, and they are not worth anything. There might be a couple of the old ones that are worth something. Like you got the Black Diamond, which is money laundering. Did I say that out loud? Money laundering? But anyway, so the VHSs aren't very, very profitable. And so I don't think the DVDs are going to be either. I think they're going to run the same course as the VHSs did. But I was at a yard sale yesterday and I had the option of buying about 100 DVDs
Oh,
for $1 for 10.
$1 for 10 of them?
Yes.
10 cents each?
10 for $1. Yeah, 10 for $1.
Golly.
So I could have bought all of those.
That just seems crazy to me.
And I held off.
I mean, you could have bought $1 worth. That would have not. I wouldn't have been mad.
I know. I held off and I didn't buy them because I just don't think they're going to go. I don't think they're going to be profitable.
Well, and then the problem is that it runs into a problem like the people who sell the books. Now, when we've been out picking, I've run into the people that have this little like wrist gizmo gadget that they're wearing and they're scanning the books barcodes like they've and it's like connected to a computer that they're wearing and they're like checking the books rapidly somehow with some sort of software. I don't know what the name of that software is, but
And they wear it on their wrist?
this guy had a little thing and it was on it. He was wearing it kind of like a watch, but it was a little more on the underneath side of his thing. And he was scanning books and he was doing it really quick. And he was looking for the one out of the 100 that was enough of a profit margin for it to make sense for him. And I found it fascinating. So I watched him for a few minutes, but then I just quickly realized that I don't think I would find that particularly enjoyable. And the few books that we've had, I've sold a few from like free piles or a few from our own house. And I mean, I've ended up making like $1, if that. And so that is just not, they're easy to list.
Those are all ratings buyers, right? Is that what they call them?
It's just, we can have a few things in our store that are like that, but I try not to waste too much time on items that are selling for below $9.99. It's kind of my threshold because just because something sells for $9.99, you're only going to be making just a couple of dollars. And it has to be an easy something to list. It can't be something that takes like a lot of research to figure out what I'm going to price it at. So I don't mind pricing lower priced items. They're quick, as long as they're like quick to ship, like they're easy to package up. I don't mind. That doesn't bother me, but I'm not going to waste like a ton of time. And I certainly wouldn't want boxes upon boxes upon boxes of things that are only going to yield a profit of $1 or maybe $2 if we're lucky. And so
take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
I have a lot of old books that I'm about to become a bookseller because I'm going to rebuild my office, the picker's office, and it's going to go from 3 bookshelves down to 1 bookshelf. So I'm going to learn books and records really quick.
Yeah. And I think if you're just trying to get rid of your own things, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the stumbling block for me on some of the items that I've noticed, records, baseball cards, because you had a couple of baseball cards along the way, and a few other like collectible items, the way that eBay has you classify their quality is like a rating system. And I'm not a professional baseball card grader, though of course we don't have any that are worth any kind of money, but I think that you can send them to eBay like you can do with you just really high-end handbags or like luxury items to authenticate them. And so then they would tell you the grade that they would receive for the quality. But I'm like, yeah, I guess it's good. Like you read the description and you kind of look at it and you go, well, I guess it's good, or I guess it's acceptable.
Be careful with baseball cards. I didn't even think about that. We had a couple of autograph things that we sold.
I just don't want to get into like, not into trouble, because I don't feel like I get into trouble. I just don't want to create a problem that I'm going to have to solve or handle. Like just.
Exactly. Well, we'll let you know how the books turn out and the records, because I'm about to do them. I might need you to buy some record. No, I'm going to sell them in lots. So I think we can get away with like a flat rate box.
Bigger box.
Do they still do flat rate?
Yes.
Did they get rid of They got rid of priority.
They,
I haven't shipped in quite a long time.
Well, I don't think that records are going to fit in any of them, but you could probably for the.
Gotcha.
I think you're going to need a special size mailer.
All right, so that was tip number 2. Play off of each other's strengths and don't give each other a hard time for the other's strength. And then tip number 3 is one that I realized yesterday. Well, you told me this a couple of months ago, but it really clicked in my head the other day. But it was, I came home, I went out yesterday, went yard selling, came home with a couple of stuff. I only spent $6 in total.
I was proud. I thought you were going to come home with armfuls of things.
I took out $112. So
you had big aspirations for all.
There was a toolbox that I was eyeing down in Fortuna, and
for you though, probably
it was because I have 2 toolboxes and one of them is really breaking apart right now. I need to get a new one, but they're $300 to $500. I just can't see myself spending that, but I need something for my tools. But anyways, that's what I went looking for. Had my old map laid out, Craigslist, all that kind of stuff. And then, so I bought 3 things. And when I came home and I started cleaning them up, Jen was like, save the draft, save it for later. When you look it up, see how much it is, save it for later. And so I know what you were looking at and I don't have to go back and look for it myself. And so I found my camera's wobbling all over the place. It's probably going to look really annoying.
He feels very passionate about this subject.
Yeah, let me sit on my hands because I'm a hand talker.
You're just excited to share.
No, so I bought a CD player and with a subwoofer and some speakers and stuff like that. And she's like, send that to me. And I was telling her, yeah, I bought this for $5. Going to be able to sell it for about 43. That's what the product research tool was saying that we could sell it for. And so it just clicked in my head that it made it really easy for her. Like, I love that I can buy things and then bring them home and help her clean them up or do whatever. But then she'll list them for me. And so to be able to speed up that process for her is like, hey, just send that and save it as a draft. And then we'll put it on over. So it's like, help each other. Tip number 3 is help each other be successful. So whatever it is that the other person needs to be successful, even if it's not your own process, how you do things, if it's okay, like if it's not walking backwards and doing the process, go ahead and do the process.
But we were just finding that you were spending time standing at the yard sale or at the thrift store. You were looking to determine whether or not it was an item that would be worth buying to resell. And so you already have that, whatever it was that you were looking at, you already have it up on your screen. You have found it. You have determined that it is a good choice. If you're just 2 clicks away from doing sell similar and then just scroll all the way to the bottom and save for later. That way I know what he's thinking when and then I don't have to sit for 10, 15, 20 minutes to try and find what it was I was thinking that he might have seen out on eBay. Time. And especially for items that I'm unfamiliar with. Like you did it yesterday on pumpkins. I probably could have handled pumpkins on my own. But again, it's just wasting time. Like he's already done the research to find the item. And so 2 quick clicks means I don't need to research it. The price that he kind of was hoping for or expected is already kind of on there from the one that he's pulling it from. And so that part of the work doesn't need to be repeated by my brain or with my time. But especially helpful when there are items that I'm just completely unfamiliar with. Like they're boy things, like
electronics,
tools or
tools.
like things that I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Like, can you give me like a start? And then he'll tell you, oh, that's a, fill in the blank, whatever it is. And I'm looking and I'm like, I'm just spinning my wheels trying to find it. So,
Yep.
it's
That's
helpful.
a good tip. So save time for you and continue for me to be able to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so let's walk through what you do and what I do listing on eBay. Do you want to go first? Can you shorten it though? Don't give a huge detail.
Well, sure. I mean, do you mean from the point of looking them up, or what you mean with the Tupperware?
Yeah. No, and so when you get a piece, you're starting fresh. You got a piece.
Oh, right.
Are you pulling out your phone? Are you pulling out your computer? Are you taking pictures first? What are you doing?
Okay. First step is I'm trying to like determine the quality of the item. Like I'm cleaning it up if it needs any kind of like cleanup. Kind of looking it over, assessing it.
Mhm.
If I see something that I need to really call out in the listing. And then yes, I am using my cell phone and a stand LED like ring light and a white box that has a LED light in it as well, so that I can get like nice bright photos on a like probably a white background.
Mhm.
Though we have some other colors, like if I'm photographing something white, I put it on the gray background. And so then I'm sitting probably and like looking up just to find a comp or one that I can start from
On your phone?
on my phone. And I always start them on my phone for the most part. 90% of the time I'm starting from my phone probably. And then I am doing a sell similar and I am taking the photos and then I'm not editing the listing from there. I just scroll to the bottom and save it for later. And I just
Mhm.
queue up a whole bunch of them. And it depends on if I'm trying to list a bunch of things on one day or if I'm trying to space them out for a week where I know I'm going to have a busy week where I'm doing other types of work. And I just want to make sure that I'm listing some consistently each day to eBay. So sometimes I'll do quite a few and they'll get like parsed out throughout the week as I'm posting some each day,
Okay.
but I'm not doing all of these steps every day, if that makes sense. And then I move over to a desktop computer with a bigger screen where I can really pull up a couple more tabs easily if I'm doing a little bit more research at that point, or if I've made a kind of a mental note like, oh, I want to look into that a little bit more before I figure out what price I want to go with. And then I'm just going down. I'm just updating the listing to make sure everything's accurate. I have the product sitting with me. I check it, or if there's numbers to copy off of it, product numbers or things that I need to know how to spell or sizes that I want to capture off of it. Then I just update the entire listing and then I publish it from the desktop computer. Like I push it to make it live on eBay. And then I'm copying the information, like the title for our spreadsheet, for our tracking and like our inventory. I'm assigning it a name, which is essentially just the title of the listing, whatever the listing title is, it matches our books basically. And
then
then
the description, when you're editing the description, you put in our organizing numbers, right?
yes. And so then at that point on our spreadsheet, it gets a number. Every item gets a number and a place where it lives. So
You're probably going there with putting in the spreadsheet.
Yeah. And then when the item sells, then I can know where to go look for the item. And I just move the item from being in our inventory to being like out of our inventory. Essentially it's sold. So it just gets moved to the sold section. And then from there, I just capture the remaining information, the date that it was sold, the amount that it sold for, the amount that the shipping label cost, and the profit that eBay tells me that I made off of it. So that we can keep a running total of how much money we've made to date, or we can look at the date range and figure out where we're at.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, very simple, actually. I feel like there is no need to overcomplicate that. And I feel like a lot of people, unless you just have way more inventory than we do, I don't think you need to overcomplicate it. Like it doesn't need to be a complicated thing.
So you don't take pictures with the DSLR camera and take out the memory card, and you don't want those crystal clear pictures?
I have a pretty nice iPhone that takes pretty good photos, and I do crop them sometimes if I can't get it
Yeah.
in the white box or
Definitely have to fit it in there.
especially the one that's going to be the main photo. I will spend a little extra time to make sure that that one shows up nice in its frame. But
average eBay customer does not go past the first photo before they buy it. Did you
that
know
seems
that?
crazy to me, and I feel like they're probably missing flaws being pointed out.
Yeah.
Because I take really clear photos of.
And they don't read the descriptions.
Oh,
I know.
I don't know.
Our Tupperware customers are not like that, though. They read the description. They look at all the photos.
I haven't had
They're the
anybody
best.
complain about it yet.
I love our Tupperware customers.
I do put our flaws in two places, though. If it's something beyond just like a tiny little minor something, I put it both in the where you pick new or new other. Like if it's got a little something wrong with it, I pick new other,
Nice.
and then I say what is this has a scratch or this has a stain or whatever, and then I copy that and I paste it into the box. That's the description box as well. So it's at the top.
Cool. I didn't realize that we had the same process, but it seems ridiculous to me to do it any other way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you could do everything on your phone, and probably maybe Gen Z, millennial, they might work all off of their phone. It may work for them, but we are the small screen, big screen family here at Generation.
I like a big screen.
There's some things you do on a small screen, and there's other things that you do on a big screen. It just makes sense.
I feel like I can see it better.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like I can review the entire listing a little more clearly on the big screen. So that's what I do.
I am looking forward to using the iPad. It's, we bought the iPad on our last episode. I was talking about it, finally bought it, and I'm not super impressed.
Uh-oh.
So it's just like having a bigger phone, but you know what it doesn't have, which just shocks me?
What?
It doesn't have a calculator app.
Well, I thought you were going to say maybe like a flash or something.
No, it doesn't have a calculator app. Can you believe that?
I feel like you could add a widget or something, can't you?
Well, it's not even an option on the iPad. I had to Google it. I was like,
this feels weird.
This can't be true. There's a calculator on my computer. There's a calculator on my phone. And I'm like swiping down in the control center, and I like to have all my widgets in my control center. I'm like, where is the stinking calculator function? And there is not a calculator function on this iPad. This drives me crazy, Apple. And I paid more for the Folio keyboard, the Bluetooth keyboard, and I don't think it was worth it. And
do you remember when you used to be able to push F12 to get to all of the widgets, and now they've put them in the launch pad thing in the toolbar at the bottom? Yeah. I don't like that change. I wish they would go back.
You can adjust your keys.
It comes that way, and I just think, like, why that didn't need improvement.
And you can also touch your keypad. You can program it to touch your keypad with a certain number of fingers, and it brings your launch pad up.
F4. I'm sorry, I said F12 earlier. It's F4, and my laptop is old enough that it still works the way that I like for it to, that I want it to. But our desktop is newer, and so it has Launchpad. And I'm just, why that didn't need to be fixed. F4 was brilliant.
Well, I feel like I need to put a little disclaimer on there because Jen is not the most techie, so we may want to confirm what iOS operating system she is, or it's not iOS, what operating system she's running.
This one's dinosaur.
I know. It is an older one. Okay, so that's kind of a rundown of how our workflow works, and mine is almost identical to hers. And the only thing that's different from mine is I don't look over the when I do sell similar, I don't look it over because Jennifer does that when she gets to listing the thing for me.
Oh, well, I didn't expect for you to fill out all of the things.
No.
I just am looking for the one that you're.
The good thing about the app though is when you do sell similar, it puts all your preferences in there. It doesn't take the old seller's preferences to go in there.
And I would never publish one without checking it. I've caught all kinds of people's errors, little mistakes on like size and things. Mm-hmm. And I, as I'm going through it, I correct them, to be actually accurate.
You want to be accurate.
You'd be surprised at how bad people are at measuring with a ruler. Like,
Yeah.
Or we're just really generously rounding one way or the other, where I'm just like, people probably would like an accurate size.
Yeah, if I could see it with the shipping sizes, but not with the actual product dimensions.
Like the product dimensions,
That's crazy.
you know?
All right. So we have some exciting Pickers podcast news coming out.
Really?
You know what it is?
No.
Let me run a scenario by you.
Okay.
And see how you feel about this.
Okay.
Because I already know, I've already talked extensively how I feel about this too. Carl. So how would you feel about listing? So you know what you're good at, right? You know what items you're good at?
Yeah.
What categories?
Or better at, and I know more than that, I know what I'm not good at.
Like you could look at something and go, oh, I know that I could pay this price for it and make a profit off of it.
Yeah, I'm getting better at that.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you take 5 items that you think that you're good at and you write those categories down on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then just randomly on a weekend after garage sales have happened, you go into a neighborhood and you walk up to a complete stranger's house and knock on their door and ask them if they have any of these 5 categories that
to buy.
To buy.
Complete strangers?
To complete strangers.
I just feel like most people have like kind of a no soliciting policy at their house. It's borderline rude even.
It's rude to go up to their house and ask for them.
Well, we had someone leave a business card at our front door and I caught them on the ring, but I was in the middle of doing something and you were in the middle of working. And I was like, why is that person at our front door? And they stood there for a really long time. And then they finally left a business card. It was a real estate agent. Then when I finally messaged them, they never wrote me back. Like, why did you leave your business card at our door?
You messaged them?
Yeah, when I called, so I just
message them.
Because I wanted to know what they wanted. Like, what do you want?
They want to sell our house. They want to ask if we're going to sell our house, and we're not selling our house.
Well, I mean, if you're looking to buy my house, like, how much are you wanting to pay? Are you like enamored with my home and would like to pay like 4 times the amount that it's worth? Well, because then I consider it.
I don't know if I would.
I don't know. I do love it here. But if someone came along and was like, I'll offer you $1 million for your house, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a price for everything, isn't there?
I will figure out my garden situation someplace else for $1 million.
But doesn't it, that just reinforces my point that it feels like it's going to be awkward.
Yeah, I don't think I'm signing myself up to do that. You have fun.
You are signed up for it.
No, I will not be doing that.
You're helping.
No, I definitely will not. I'll man the getaway car, though.
Yeah, I think that this is the most awkward thing that I can ever, if I was to think of anything more awkward to do, it's go to people's doors and just randomly say, hey, I'm with Pickers Podcast. We are a video podcast and we are just asking for, we're resellers and we're asking for if you have any of these 5 items.
I think the only way I can conceive of that making better sense in my brain was if you approached houses that had just finished having a yard sale or an estate sale later in the afternoon when it's all closed up, or the next day. Hey, we noticed that you were having a sale. Would you mind if we take a look at whatever you were going to donate and make you an offer on it? Like, that feels less intrusive because it feels a lot less creepy. Like, we got your street address from your ad, your Craigslist, your Facebook Marketplace, your whatever, however you put it out into the world. And I don't know, it just feels less like intrusive to maybe do that than to just totally pull up to some random person's house. Like,
yep. Those are good ideas. And that's the way that it's going to be started off. And I think Carl's going to actually do a few of them as a test drive this weekend. But I
don't like strangers coming up to our house, like our door. Like, I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. So
it's not the way it used to be 30 years ago.
No. Don't. Yeah.
But the way that our podcast was started off is it's Recycling America one story at a time. So we were looking for stories out there, and we really started off pretty strong with interviewing people and getting their stories and things like that. And that's kind of where it's going back to is, we are going back to one of the things that we want to do is ask them, once the ice is broken with, do you have this item X, Y, and Z? Not only getting something that's actually what we can sell, but it's gathering the stories from people. It's like, well, how did you get this item? Or was there an interesting story behind it? Or is there an interesting story about whatever XYZ is? And hopefully we can glean that stuff. But the second piece of it is just me being awkward because I don't want to do this.
I don't think that you should do things that you don't want to do. I'm a big advocate for not doing things that you don't want to do.
For the gram, man. It's for the gram. It's for the clicks.
I think it would be, I think it would be easier to prearrange like coming back to a place at like you go to an estate sale and say like, would it be okay if I come back at the 4:00 hour? Or is there a time when like some family members might be here where they could share some stories about some of the items?
Those are good ideas.
You know,
I like that.
And it just feels less intrusive.
Then just rolling up to a random neighborhood and start knocking on doors.
I don't know. I mean, it's 50-50 what kind of attitude you might be presented with. But I feel like being a little bit more proactive at like laying a foundation of we're not odd people. We would really like to just connect, you know.
Exactly.
Asking permission just feels like kind of the respectful thing to do. I don't know. But you and Carl have fun. I'm definitely not going to be doing that. I'm not going to be doing any of that. I'm not asking people to come back, but I give you some ideas.
You're going to have to be a part of it because he's going to have to come out here or we're going to have to go out there to Colorado.
Well, you're going to have to go out there probably. And I'll probably just stay here.
All right. Well, that's coming soon. We're getting back to our roots, one story at a time. And then, let us know in the comments what your strategies are if you're a partner reseller, what your strategies are on how you guys work well together. And then if you're just a solo reseller also, if you have any kind of tips that will help speed us up in our listing process, let us know in the comments below. You can always email us at Pickers Podcast. I'll leave the email in the description. And then you can DM us over on Facebook or Instagram at Pickers Podcast. So with that, we are going to move on to the Tupperware update of the show, which is somebody at the door? Is somebody coming in? Is that some YouTubers at our door asking for random stuff?
Oh, no.
This is part of the show. If you have stuck around long enough, I appreciate it. In all 15,000 of you, we really appreciate it. So we, I feel like we should I feel bad about something.
What do you feel bad about?
I feel bad that we're asking people to reach out to us that had a bunch of Tupperware, and somebody reached out to us with a bunch of Tupperware.
Yeah.
And I was emailing back and forth with this guy, and he said, okay, I'm going to send you an inventory of it. And this was going on for like months, like probably a couple months. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I really am excited to get some more Tupperware in stock. And so while he was pulling this together, I emailed him. I was like, look, you know, this is how much I'll probably be able to pay you per piece. This is how much I'll be able to pay you per lid. But he came back to us with a huge amount of Tupperware. Like,
yeah, it was more than anticipated.
Way like it would have filled our house, how much Tupperware he had. It was a lot of Tupperware. And it was about $10,000 above what we'd be able to pay anybody. So lessons learned, I should have told him how much money I actually had to spend on the Tupperware.
I mean, we didn't know.
Yeah. Not in my wildest dreams would I have thought that this guy was going to come back with the number of Tupperware that he came back to us with.
But he had to do that work anyways. It's not like he was doing it for us specifically.
Exactly.
It was part of his probate process he needed to do. So
yeah, and I felt a little bad that I felt like I strung him along in a sense or gave him false hope, which I communicated to him in a follow-up email. I was like, look, I'm very sorry. I did not even mean to give your hopes up or, you know, insult you with the offer that I offered you, but it was literally how much I have to be able to buy more Tupperware from you. So we are looking at we're looking for more of a reasonable amount of Tupperware to buy.
Think small storage unit.
Small storage units.
Like the smallest of storage units, because we are nowhere near the bottom of what we've already purchased. Yeah. So, I mean, we just have a lot still.
And not a warehouse, please. Not a warehouse full. I'm not that big yet. But so, yeah, reach out to us if you have some Tupperware. But we like to give you guys a rundown, I think, a lot of you like to hear this stuff. I'm not sure. I haven't got any feedback. I haven't got any negative feedback either. So I know that people like to see when people win or are successful on eBay. And one of the things that we're successful on was that we bought a small storage unit full of Tupperware, brand new old stock. And so we've been selling through it. And so far, we have sold $6,759.48 worth of Tupperware.
Yeah.
And
on a very part-time basis. Very part-time basis.
Yeah, it is. It's been a great side hustle.
We're not spending 40 hours a week, y'all. You know, I mean, like this is.
It's funny you bring that up because I got a breakdown on that. So it cost us $1,900. So we just passed what did you just list? Over 1,000?
Oh yeah, it's 1,200 actually.
We're at 1,200.
Yeah, 1,200.
So we just listed 1,200. Still have more to go.
So much more to go.
So we basically paid 50 cents per piece for this stuff, which is great. It's gonna make us, in the dollar average, it's making us a little bit of money. So we've cleared $4,859.48, and that's $496 in 2 weeks of profit that we made off this. Still need to pay taxes on it and still need to tithe on it. No big deal. Two things we already know. So that calculates out to we've made $49 a day.
Oh, that's fun.
In 2 weeks.
Sometimes when we do have a big sale, I'll think like, "Ooh, it was $100 day," or "Ooh, it was a $50 day." Like I do have those thoughts. But for me, it just kind of all goes into the same pool of money, and so like,
we get this question a lot though. It's like, how many packages do you ship a day, or how many packages do you sell a month or a week?
Couple. A handful, a small, like a manageable amount for one person to get to the post office always.
Yeah, I don't think it's every day either, but I broke down the numbers.
The only time I had to make multiple trips to my car was the week after Thanksgiving.
A lot of people bought.
A lot. I can't. I'm like, I'm jazzed for the next one.
Drive back home and then it would go ding, 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 cash, ching, ching, ching.
It was so cool. And I literally cannot wait for this years because we should run more stuff in stock.
Run a sale during that week.
Yeah, I think I thought I did a coupon.
You did for a holiday? Nice.
I can't remember, or I meant to. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. It's been a while, but we had a good number of both Tupperware and non-Tupperware sales for that particular.
All right. So that $496 was in a 2 business week period. So it's 10 days, 5 days a week.
But that was the start of the 10% promotion, right?
We upped our stuff up to 10%. Yeah, and I know a lot of you guys just cringed, but that still is making us a huge profit. And it's like doubled our sales. It's crazy.
On these items, we don't have to be very careful in regard to that. We've already made our money back. So literally, it's
I don't mind paying it. Like I've said before, it's advertising fees, and I'm okay with some advertising fees. With $1.25 as an advertising fee or whatever it is, I'm okay with that.
There was one sale that irked me this past week. You know which one it was because I texted you about it. It was almost $200 in total, and then we cleared $119. And I was like, golly, with the 200, where did the 200 go? Like what? That one was fun, but I was like, wow, okay, that's a lot.
That was, we paid 50 cents for that $119 sale though.
Yeah.
Or we paid $1.50, 3 items.
Yeah.
Okay, so that breaks down to $49 a day or $6 an hour if you're working 40-hour weeks.
Definitely not.
You're not working a 40-hour week.
No.
But it was cool to put this into perspective because I'll get some more into the sold items, but it answers that question. So how many are you selling a day in a week? And so we sold 386 items, or we've sold 386 items. That's 48 listings over the last 14 days. Now I'm going in the calendar 14 days, calendar 2 weeks. That equals out to almost 3.5 sales a day.
Yeah, that feels about right to me.
Yeah.
3-ish, 2 or 3 a day.
Well, we have 5, we have 4, we have 1.
Average.
Yeah, it's an average of 3.5 sales per day.
And then some days there'll just be crickets, and I'll think, well, that's bizarre. We didn't have anything today.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it hits on a day where I think, I feel a little bit relieved also. Like I have some other pressures with other things that I'm doing or working on. I have a couple other jobs that I do as well. And so sometimes that lines up and I go, oh, well, I'm glad because I just don't know
Feel
how I'd
good.
fit one more thing in today, you know?
Yep. And even with selling our lids, we have upped our average profit from $12.25. We brought it up a quarter to $12.58. So
I don't mind selling the lids at all. I know that we don't make very much, but they're just so easy
really?
to list. Like
Okay.
they are at this point.
Keep selling them.
Yeah, for sure.
We
We're
have
going
thousands.
to. We have them, so we are going to list them and sell them. But they're just so easy to pack up and throw a label on.
Yep.
And I mean, they don't even require like a lot of packaging. So I just love it.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Typically a mailer. No
Yeah.
problem.
Little cheap mailer.
But that's good because we were down in the tens for a long time. So I like to
know.
see that our profits have come back up. And that's even with 10% promoted. We're still at a dollar average of $12.50.
Yeah.
And when you only paid 50 cents for something, it's a pretty good profit right there.
Anytime you can, times your money that many times is amazing.
Exactly. All right. And then we started yard selling again. So we will be posting more stuff that's not just Tupperware, that we can even boost our dollar average up even more. All right. How about trivia? You ready for some trivia?
As ready as I'll ever be.
The trivia this week, this episode, is top things that married couples bicker about.
Oh, okay. That's easy.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 3 different categories here. Jennifer, what do you think the top married couple business owners bicker about?
Money. Finances.
Okay. Money is number 1. You are correct. Number 1.
Am I guessing more? Because I bet I know them all.
It's the top 3. Didn't I say that? What are the top 3 things that business owners bicker about? What do you think the top 3 are?
I would say like intimacy type of a thing. Usually couples argue about like their private time
Business
together.
Owners. What top 3 business things do couples
business
about?
specific?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man, you're going to have to talk to HR after this one.
No, I just thought you meant like married couples. I'm like their kids, private time together, money, and like equitable distribution of labor.
Wow. I'm impressed. So you got money was number 1. Management styles was number 2.
Yeah. Division of labor or and it being equitable.
Number 3 was work-life balance. That's pretty darn good. I'm impressed.
I bet you number 4, if they're married to each other, probably is their private time together.
Oh, well, that was the next question was what are the top things that couples in general bicker about? And you hit all 3 of them.
I got that
Money,
one right.
The great sex divide, and who does what around here.
Yeah. And then kids, probably.
Kids was on there too.
Kids.
Yep. Okay. So this one is a fun one. So out of these 3 scenarios, you need to tell me which one is more you and which one is more me in the office.
Okay. Oh, in the office.
Yeah, in our business.
To us. Okay.
Yeah, in our business.
Shoot.
We know our personalities pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so number 1, snack wars. Healthy snacks versus leftover pizza. Tensions rise as healthy eating partners clash with the lure of late night comfort food. So which one's more which?
I'm the healthy eater and you are the unhealthy preference snacker. But I'm susceptible to unhealthy snacking as well.
I am rubbing off on you, and
sometimes it's just like a snack gremlin.
My heart. You're so good when we first got married.
I
feel like I'm just a bad influence.
Yes.
All right, call it a day. Got chatty Cathy partners that love a good client call while their partner desperately texts you. Can you wrap this up for some peaceful silence?
Oh, I like the peaceful silence. You're the talker. Can you text me? I do not want to talk on the phone. I don't really want to have a conversation if I don't have to. Yeah.
I went to that yard sale that had the toolbox.
Talking to people at yard sales.
At the toolbox. I he caught me and he talked to me for half an hour.
Oh.
And I didn't get to look at any of his stuff at his yard sale because he talked to me the whole time.
Yeah, I can't think of anything I'd prefer less than to have long, ongoing
That was pretty
conversation.
bad. That was pretty bad. He had a lot of good stuff to talk about, and I just conceded to it that we're going to talk about where he's moving and his kids, and I learned about what they're going to school for and why they lived here, and that his house is for sale, and that he has a secret room with a safe in it.
Wow. What's interesting is because I genuinely, I'm not like completely antisocial, and I really do enjoy people. I love like people. I love all people. But you definitely excel in the like public relations. You are the one in our family that holds that part together. Because I've just assumed not. Like, if given the choice, I would prefer for quiet time.
All right. So Mike's the chatty Cathy. All right. No, we were talking about this in the open-end podcast. It's not chatty Cathy. It's chatty Carl.
Or chatty Carl.
Yeah. What would be another
you
one?
and Carl chatting together drives me nuts sometimes.
What about what would be the male equivalent of the chatty Cathy? Chatty.
I mean, Carl.
Chatty Carl, yeah.
Because you two just chatted up. So that makes sense to me. Sorry, Carl.
We were on a phone call the other day, a couple days ago, and we ran out of stuff to talk about.
I was like, what
kinda
could
odd
you
to see.
possibly have to discuss for the length of time that you talk?
All kinds of stuff.
It is impressive.
All kinds of stuff.
I can't think of anyone I talked to for that length of time.
He's my only guy friend that I talked to for that long on the phone.
You're the only person that I spend this much time talking to.
All right. Office Oasis. Millennials meet maximalists as partners. Fight for Gen Z versus funky office decor. Pineapples and inspirational quotes. Battle sleek furniture for boardroom dominance. So I obviously generated these questions off of Google.
Chat GPT sounds like they made
It was Google's AI. I think Google is beating Chat GPT right now on AI stuff. But what it is office feng shui. So the way things are set up and organized. So who is the minimalist and who is the funky Gen Z?
That applies to either one of us. I think that you are far more comfortable working in an utter mess than I am. But the way that our house is set up, I just have to make peace with the fact that I'm shoved into a corner in the kitchen. It's not like what I would desire for my workspace, like if I had a choice, but I don't have a choice. And so I just am comfortable using what is available.
I told you could work in my office. No problem.
No, I can't sit in your office because it's just, you have stuff everywhere.
That's being fixed
around
soon.
The perimeter of the floor.
Yeah, it is pretty nerve-wracking.
My only request of Mike in his office space, I shut the door if it's just too bad. But I need the path that I walk through to get to the printer to be clear. Like I don't, no obstacles on the floor.
So you would be the feng shui.
I guess so, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel like it's a minimalist. I just don't like as many things. I don't really feel like a minimalist.
You have too much stuff in your office. But I'm not the minimalist. I do. I have a death pile that I need to get listed. Yeah, so that's being fixed pretty quick. And that was a realization that came into me because I like going to my office, my real office, my business office at work.
Yeah.
And it's very minimal. And I love it. And I feel more happier there when I work. And I come home to this home office and I'm like, oh, she's so right. These windows don't work. There's stuff all over the floor. So after pushing stop in a few seconds on this recording, I am going to the hardware store to build just a minimalist bookshelf and get some of that stuff taken care of. Getting rid of the records and the books. I love books, man. I love books. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of them. I'm just going to become a good book guy.
What's crazy is that not a lot of the thrift stores are accepting books anymore.
No, we're going to sell them, even if it's just for pennies on the dollar for reviews. All right, Jen, you want to end us off with your tagline?
All right, Philip Pickers, go find your treasures one story at a time.
And remember, it's not reselling if you're bickering with your partner about money.